How you doing, Mitch?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good. Feeling refreshed, feeling ready to go. I'm ready to not talk about the Suns, but then I look down and we're going to talk Suns for
we're going to talk about
like the entirety
Suns,
of the show.
my
It's okay.
friend.
82 games. I still can't escape them, but it's okay. It's worthwhile.
I heard you and Kellen when I was driving back into town last night. So I guess let's just start with the general reaction to Bud getting fired. I don't know how you could not. Like we had this conversation last week on the show, and I was trying to figure out the nicest way to word it. And the best way I could word it was, okay, what's the justification for keeping him? Because it felt like the only justification, and it wasn't the Suns coming up with this. Obviously, they waited like 3 hours to let him go. But the national justification, the only thing you come up with was, well, they just fired Frank Vogel. Like, okay, that may have been a mistake. That doesn't mean you keep this guy if it's not working. And the more we hear it wasn't working on any level, it doesn't sound like.
There was plenty of evidence as to why that this was not going to be a cycle that was going to continue, or a coach that was going to continue coaching here. There was all the nonsense that was happening with Yusuf Nurkic and his role. There was the reports about Devin Booker, and then that whole confrontation there. There was just the general vibe that was not felt great. Like, I've heard from people within the organization that just did not vibe with this guy, and he did not give anybody else really that time at all. So
And that's not like a 2-week thing. I remember hearing that back in like December.
It's been the whole season.
Yeah.
And look, I get it. When you win games, maybe things are different, but there was also they weren't winning games and they weren't playing good basketball. So I think all of that compounded into what we got as far as the news yesterday, but I still wonder why they didn't even make this change sooner. Like, we knew they were going to make this change. Why didn't they make this change sooner?
Yeah, and maybe it would have salvaged something. I don't know. I mean,
there was nothing to be salvaged. It's just more so getting a head start on looking for the next guy, because 3 other teams had already made a coaching change this year.
Yeah.
Before you made yours yesterday. So you're already behind the 8 ball in terms of trying to find your next guy.
Yeah. Here's Gambo, actually, on with Bickley and Murata yesterday when the news came out, and this is kind of along the lines of what you and I were just saying.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think from what I was told, and you know, we're on the outside. We can only see so much. You know, Vinny's close to the situation too. He was miserable to deal with. Everybody in the organization I talked to, and I reported this, and I know it became national news about just how miserable he is to deal with. Nobody liked dealing with him. You couldn't answer. Radio broadcast team couldn't answer questions before the game. They would cut him off after 5 minutes. He was very, very careful with his time. We have Tori Lavello comes on our show. Mike Hazen comes on the show. Jonathan Gannon comes on the show. Monty Ossenfor comes on the show. Mike Budenholzer does nothing. Does absolutely nothing. Doesn't like speaking to anybody. I don't know what he's hiding. I think he is hiding something. But to me, it's just like he was a disaster. He never helped promote the basketball team. But one of the things, a few things that I was told today as the firing came down, is that the team didn't like each other. They didn't compete. There was no energy. His relationship with the players was terrible. Let's look at the Nurkic situation. Defensively, they were awful. The Phoenix Suns felt they had a better team this year, roster-wise, than they did last year. Last year, they won 49 games, win the 6th seed. This year, they're not even in the play-in tournament.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot there, obviously. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like we were hearing this from people that are really easy to get along with, that were being like, man, this Coach Bud's just kind of not. It's just not easy to get. Now, yeah. And you don't have to be like everybody's friend. I'm not saying that. But if you don't have the equity of you've been somewhere for a few years so people know, like, okay, this guy's a good dude, but he's maybe just having a bad time or whatever. Like, you don't have that. You were new. And to your point, Mitch, you're not winning any games. And your players are having a hard time with you, and the organization has to trade a first-round pick that has some real value in 2031 just to get 3 lesser first-round picks, just to get rid of a player because you won't talk to him. And, oh, by the way, your team won 36 games with the highest payroll in NBA history. I'm not saying firing the coach solves everything. I'm not naive. They obviously have other things they have to work out. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how you could have possibly kept him. There would have been like 4 people at the games next year.
How is this now 3 coaches in a row? And yes, I'm looping Monty into this, where there was some sort of rift or division between coach and the players. Like Vogel, it was not necessarily we're getting a report here and there of like, oh, he disagrees with this, he disagrees with that. Like the biggest player argument under the Vogel tenure was Eric Gordon was upset he wasn't getting enough shots.
Yeah.
It's like, brother,
that
relax.
Happens.
It was when he changed his tone and the approach at the end of the season and like how he lit into them in one of those games that they lost towards the end of the year that I guess rubbed players the wrong way and were like, oh, okay. So felt like they necessitated a change there. Monty Williams not getting along with Jay Crowder. Budenholzer not getting along with Nurkic. Apparently pissing off Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, among others. Like, come on, man. Why are we not vetting these coaches properly?
Yeah, I mean, this one seems different to me. I know nationally people are just looking and saying, man, they fired another coach. And this is going to be Devin Booker's 8th coach in 11 seasons?
The longest tenured one was Monty, and that was 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, that is ridiculous, and that is a problem. Although, to be fair, that wasn't all with Matt Ishbia. Now, Monty Williams, Frank Vogel, Mike Budenholzer, and whoever they hire next are all going to have been with Ishbia, and he's only really been the owner of the team for 26 months, basically. So that is a lot. But to me, I can set aside the Monty thing, at least in the sense of maybe that had run its course. I don't know. I mean, maybe that had run its course because that was 4 years, which is not, it's not decades, but in the NBA today, 4 years that's at least not abnormal to make that change.
Sure.
The Frank Vogel one seems like it was probably the mistake because at the time there really didn't seem like there was a good enough reason other than they had underachieved. But then this year's team was like, you think that was underachieving? This is underachieving.
My drink.
Seriously. I don't know how this is we're going to look back on this. It's weird because Mike Budenholzer is a good coach, but are we not going to look back on this year as him being one of the worst coaches in Suns history?
Can I counter and just say that I don't want to look back on this year?
Fair.
At all. I want to just kind of throw up the horse blinders and be like, all right, on to the next thing.
8 more segments, buddy.
They're cleaning house. They're not worrying about this whatsoever. Look, they are definitely going to learn from this. I promise.
They have to.
Like, if they don't bring in a better vetted head coach that is already struggling to get along with players in the first season, then I don't know what to tell you about the people running at the top of the organization, too. It's just as much on them as it is on the head coach, in my opinion. The people that made the decision to bring in Mike Budenholzer as they waited and waited and waited and waited until Bud's like, yep, I'm good, then fired Vogel to then announce the head coaching hire of Bud days later, it's just as much on them.
Yeah.
They need to get this one right, and he needs to last more than one season.
Well, we've been saying that all year on this show, and I'm sure everybody has. Like, whoever your coach is, for me, whoever your coach is for opening day or opening night next season needs to be your coach, like, in 2027. Like, you need to keep this guy for a couple years.
He needs to be around for that frozen 2032 pick.
Yeah, there you go. He needs to pay the bill that we're going to have to pay because Coach Bud couldn't get along with Nurk. Gambo also, and it's very secondary, I get it, but he's right also in what he said right there of, like, everybody else in this city in professional sports, college sports, is accessible at some point. It's not. Yeah. Look, are we having Devin Booker on every day? No, but we did have him on at the start of the year. Like everybody, KD was on the morning show at the start of the year. We had KD on last year. All the coaches, all the GMs are accessible. James Jones is accessible. How did Mike Budenholzer get this pass? We're like, I never needed to talk to anybody. Well, why not? Look at my amazing record. Cool. One of the worst in franchise history. Maybe the worst season in Valley sports history. Like, honestly, give me a contender because And don't give me the Suns won 19 games one year argument. We knew they weren't good going into that season, and they didn't have the highest payroll in league history at that point. So, yeah, it had to happen.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.